Attention please. This uploading is only for educational purpose. No intention to infringe copyrights. Learning English with subtitles GPITRAL. Follow us.
It's a common experience for the SPCA to rescue dogs that have been hit by a car.
It's had pain relief, so...
Where from was it? Where was it given that?
At Linfield Vets.
At Linfield Vets, it was taken in there. Okay. So can it use its hind legs at all?
It stands okay on that
Stands
side.
okay on the hind? Oh, something going on up there, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fracture up higher there, so we're going to have to x-ray that. I'd rather not do the x-rays at the moment just because she seems a bit stressed and she's a bit anxious. She's not clinically in shock, but she's obviously a bit distressed and in a bit of pain and things, and I'd rather, just wait. Good girl.
Come on, mate. I know it's a bit scary, isn't it? A little bit scary.
After initial assessment, senior vet Peter McQueen has decided the German Shepherd should be treated as soon as possible.
Oh, it might be elbow, actually. But we'll just have a look. That's sore, isn't it, mate? That is sore. Okay. All right, I'll just gown up. Oh, wait a sec. You just hold it there. Might just be down the elbow. Now, they can be really nasty.
Peter suspects a leg fracture below the elbow. If he's right, it's serious.
Alrighty. Good girl.
However, it could also be a dislocation, which is easier to treat.
Okay, everybody out. Right in there. I've done a label, if you could just pop that through. It might be dislocated. It may be an elbow fractured humerus, distal humerus. So it feels like it's just in the elbow area, but of course until we have an x-ray we don't know. Normally we would anaesthetise them, but because she was run over today it's a bit risky to do that, so we try and just do a conscious one to give us some idea of what's going on. If we feel she needs to be anaesthetised today to increase the chances of fixing it, then we will. If it's a dislocation, then that's not so dramatic. That would be the best outcome, because we could anaesthetise her, put it back in, strap her up, and then she'll be fine. She's pretty relaxed now. Oh, that doesn't look too bad, does it? That's looking pretty good.
No fractures?
Well, no obvious fracture on that view.
The initial x-ray bodes well, but another one is needed to check there's no obvious fracture.
So we took another x-ray to see whether it was dislocated, because we suspected it might be because of the amount of pain the dog was in, and sure enough the radius and ulna has moved to the side, and because this hair should be hooked in under here. We can't tell whether there's a fracture underneath that, but once we anaesthetise the dog to replace this, we'll be able to feel that, hopefully.
Hi.
Good dog. Oh, there we go.
I hate the noise, it's horrible. Yuck.
This one went in really nicely because it was fairly fresh. It had only just happened today, and therefore the muscles haven't contracted up and it hasn't got stiff and hard to move. If they've been out for a day or two, they can be really hard work. So this one went in really well. Very happy with that. And now what we do is when we splint it in a reasonably straight angle, because that reduces the chance of it popping back out, because they almost pop out when they're really flexed. So we'll splint it fairly straight, and that should just keep it in there, and we'll leave it splinted for 5 to 10 days and just see how the dog goes. But shouldn't be a problem. It's very good.
The SPCA will wait 7 days for an owner to claim the dog before it can be considered for adoption. But at this stage, Mia's experience tells her it is unlikely the owner will come forward.
It's quite tight, is it alright?
Yeah, we just have to try and carry it up.
She's not in that good a body condition. She's quite thin when she's standing up. And she's got reasonably long toenails, which means she hasn't been walked that often or lives, hasn't been on concrete. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone does come forward to claim her.
After another drive across town, Todd arrives at Birdwing member Sylvia Durant's North Shore home. Pūkekos usually live within limited areas, but this one has already travelled across Auckland twice today.
you got for me today?
I have a poo gecko that we rescued off the roof of the new hospital. That's how it got up about 40 or 50 feet up onto a roof. They said it was limping. Pete's, our vet's had a look at it and he can't find a break. It's grasping with both its
Okay, so which
feet.
hospital?
Auckland Hospital, so it's come from the Domain, I'm thinking.
Oh, because it's got to go back there.
Yeah, that's what
right.
we'll plan to do. They did say it was favouring one leg.
Yep. How's the youngster?
Yeah.
It's not a full-grown adult, it's just a young one.
Wings seem good as well.
If the legs are okay.
Yeah. Apparently, like, the fire brigade had to go up and grab
for
them.
goodness sake.
Yeah, we had the big the cherry picker and everything, and they went up in that. They took a net and a box and grabbed them, and off we went.
Well, I think there's very little wrong with him.
Well, that's what Pete thought as well, but he was apparently favouring one leg. There's a bit of a limp there.
Yeah, but not enough to worry about.
No, well, but I mean, the fact they caught him.
Where are there poo geckos in the Domain? Are there many?
Well, I've seen some around there, like down
Yeah.
around the reeds and that, like the actual one on the lake.
Yeah, because I think he could just go back.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's any point because all that's going to happen here is he's going to rush madly around in here
Possibly injure himself
and
some
injure himself some more because he's so scared. Because it's almost impossible to get a poo gecko to eat in captivity.
Yeah.
He hasn't even got skinned knees or anything
No,
like
that's
that.
there was nothing
Quite often
evident.
they have pretty, pretty
Apparently
badly skinned knees.
They
but
said he was favouring one leg
yeah,
quite noticeably.
no. Oh, I think he can just go straight back. He's probably getting awfully hungry by now. Because unfortunately for poo geckos, you cannot relocate them anywhere.
No.
Wherever you put them, if there's more poo geckos, they'll kill him because he doesn't belong.
Cool. All right.
Thanks
See
for
you
that.
later.
And now it's back in the car for another trip, this time back to where it came from. The poo gecko's reached its final destination at Auckland Domain. After being picked up next door at the hospital, it's been health checked in South Auckland, over to the North Shore, and now Todd's returning the bird just a few hundred metres from where it was found. Todd is hoping these local poo geckos will welcome the bird back into the family fold. If not, the poo gecko's life could be in danger.
Easy way. So this is where he lives. It's the best guess that we can do anyway.
Although confident, Todd can't resist one last check to see if his rescued bird is okay.
Well, unless he's still back in this little bush bit here, but I think he must have come through.
And there he is.
Oh, he's into the water now. Look at that, they can swim.
It looks like the young poo gecko is finally home. And after a 3-hour round trip in the car, he's getting back to nature as quickly as possible.
Good girl.
It's been a week since the German Shepherd arrived at the SPCA. No one came to claim her, so now she's having her last assessment before being put forward for adoption.
Who's a good girl?
A hip check is the final obstacle for the dog, who's passed all the tests so far.
Oh, well, there's no obvious pain there, but we better x-ray her before we spay her because Rachel did find some resistance during her assessment. And if the x-rays are fine, we'll continue to spay her, we'll check the elbow and hopefully she'll be fine.
Good girl.
One of the tough jobs for staff is making life and death decisions when they find an animal in a condition they cannot help.
The SPCA policy is not to rehome dogs or any animals that are going to have ongoing problems once they get into their new home. And hip dysplasia is one of those diseases that progresses with age. Basically, they get a nasty arthritis in their hips and it becomes quite painful. They become unable to walk in the end. And it's not a condition that we wish to pass on and load on to a new owner to have them to deal with that, because we don't know what is going to happen to the animal down the track once it's left here.
The animal's injuries suffered in the car accident have healed well.
Oh,
it's just about
half
gone.
the size and they're gone.
That's good. Well, we won't have to do anything with that. I might just have a little look at this elbow. It's stabilised really well. Good mobility, no unusual noises. And ligaments feel like they're fairly firm.
It's a final X-ray that will give Peter a clear image of the dog's prognosis.
It's not good, is it?
No.
No. As we suspected from the pain during the assessment, if you have a look at this hip here, you can see that it's actually the ball of that joint is only just managing to hang on to the socket. This one here is a lot better. It's not perfect, but it's more what we'd like to see, where the ball, this part here, is actually deeply seated into this socket. On this one here, you can see that it even looks smaller, but you can see this line, there's a line behind there, so that it is only just hanging on by 2 or 3 millimeters, as opposed to over half the diameter on this side. Over half the diameter is behind that line. Because of the dog's condition and the fact that, you know, later on it is going to develop quite a nasty arthritis, the only option we have really is to put the dog to sleep now, because it's not fair on the dog to have to go through that progressive disease process and the pain and suffering that it will wind up having.